Welcome, visionaries and changemakers, to Lead with LeAnn, where we navigate the waters of business with heart and purpose, airing every week at 2 p.m. Pacific time, exclusively on winwinwomen.tv. I'm LeAnn Lyon, your Chief Joy Officer, here to empower you with strategies, insights, and a splash of fun. Each week here on Lead with LeAnn, you will be live, ready to make mistakes and have fun with it and don't care. You will join me as we delve into the inspiring stories of established leaders and innovative entrepreneurs. We'll uncover just what it takes to build a brand from scratch, lead with authority and grace, and turn business aspirations into tangible success. So, anchor down, set your sails, and let's dive into the art of joyful leadership. Get ready to be inspired because your journey to business brilliance starts right now. And my guest today is also a business coach. Well, I consider myself a consultant, but she's a business coach and host of, wait for it, a podcast, a really cool podcast called The Superhumans, where she delves into the minds of the super successful. Oh, wait, so do I. Cool. Sharing lessons and ideas that help us all chase and achieve our wildest dreams. Ina helps business owners create a magnetic brand online by monetizing a small audience first, and her mission is to teach others how to attract their audience and get out of the 9 to 5 race. I'm so excited to have this time to collaborate with this wonderful, wonderful podcast host and coach. Ina, are you there? Come forward. Let's see you. There she is. Yay!
I am so excited. This is going to be the best conversation ever because I already felt like we match energies here. So this is going to be an amazing powwow.
I'm so excited as well. And we talked a few months ago. That's when we first met.
Yeah,
And uh, what's been new? What's been going on since then?
a ton. So, in fact, everybody that has seen the post that I've been sharing about this particular live has seen a different podcast name on my graphic because we just relaunched the podcast with the new name, which is Superhumans. And I am super, super excited about it. I decided earlier this year that I've been podcasting since 2012. Like I am a total dinosaur in podcasting years. And I was doing my podcast all on Zoom. Then this year I had this like thing in my gut that was telling me that I really needed to do this in person. And I didn't know how it was going to happen. I just said, I'm just going to do this podcast in person. And that is a decision, and let's just go with it. So I just released the first episode of the in-person series, which is episode 300 of our podcast. And I've interviewed like amazing people that I never thought would say yes to come and sit down to me. Like people who are like celebrities in what we do, right? Like in business coaching. These are people you're like, and I've traveled to Miami, to Jacksonville, both in Florida, to Kentucky. And now I have a studio set up in Boston to get people in there and talk to me about things. So I think that has been like the biggest thing that has happened since we last talked. And I am just super thrilled about it. This week, our local newspaper did a story on us because we're doing the podcast in the
Wait. When you say
community
local,
access TV studio. I
what?
mean, it's just been a ride. It's been
Okay,
amazing.
when you say local, do you mean Boston?
I mean, like, no, like I live in Wakefield, which is right
Okay,
outside of Boston. So,
right.
yes, so like our
Cool.
local TV station, that's what
Yeah.
I'm doing. And everybody there has been fabulous. They have just been so nice. They've been so great with all of my diva demands. Like, that light needs to be adjusted. These couches need to move like 5 inches to the front. Like, they've been great through the whole thing. And I couldn't be more thrilled. And I just want to say out loud that if anybody listening to this wants to start a podcast, just do it. Just get started. Just expect that it's going to be hard work for like a year and then you're going to get into a groove. Just don't give up. That I just need to say that out loud.
Yeah. And like you've already pointed out, for anybody listening who's thought about starting a podcast, understand the reason you just get going and just get started is because it's not going to be perfect at first. It's just not. And what you think your podcast is going to be and what you think it's going to be about and what you think you're going to have to do, probably almost none of that's going to be true. And
Right.
so, yeah, just get going. I mean, my podcast, it took me about maybe 2 months before I was realized, you know what? The thing I love most about what I'm doing is, well, this, having these real honest conversations with other people that have been through a few trials, have been through a few things to get where they are at. And that's why we're here today and doing the same thing.
Right.
Congratulations on
Thank
300, though.
you.
That's amazing.
And it's just that everybody needs to get that about podcasting, that it's not easy to keep going. That 80% of podcasts get abandoned after the first 3 episodes.
Mhm.
And that's because you feel like once you put your story out there, is out ready for the world to see it. And to you is such a big deal that when you push publish, when it's your launch day, it's like now everybody has access to a story that I haven't shared anywhere else before or can see me fail publicly. Like that's what happens in our mind. When in reality, on the first episode, people don't really know that you're out there yet, right?
Right.
Not that many
Exactly.
people are listening at first. So when you put so much time and effort into something and you're not seeing any immediate gratification coming back to you, it can be discouraging. So
Yeah.
even though I've had 300 episodes on this podcast, I haven't done 300 episodes total. I've done more like 500 episodes total. They were just on different podcasts. I had another podcast that I got to 100 episodes before I decided to completely pivot and start a new podcast. So you're not seeing just 300 episodes. You're seeing
Right.
me on my fourth podcast, third rebrand just on this podcast. Right.
Uh-huh.
So it's like you're always in a constant sense of evolution. So if you're thinking about starting a podcast, just remember that you're not stuck with whatever it is that you initially did. You're going to evolve. You're going to change your mind. You're going to think of something else. Feel yourself like you have the freedom to change it, to evolve it. Forget about everybody else. Just tell your audience, hey, this is a journey I'm on. This is how I'm going to change it. And this is what you're going to expect in the future. And you're done. You can just keep evolving with it. And it's been like the
It,
best thing I ever did.
it is totally. And you know what? It reminds me also of a book called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson.
I
You
have
know?
I've heard of this book. My podcast mentor
Oh, you
swears
got to
by
read
this
it.
book. Please tell everybody about it.
Gotta read
Tell
it.
everybody
Okay.
about it.
So Jeff Olson, kind of cool backstory, is he founded a network marketing company called Neora, I believe. And he went through a journey of 7 years going back and forth with one of the three-letter agencies, who
Mhm.
was trying very hard not only to shut down his company, but actually to shut down the whole network marketing industry. Now, there
Mm,
might be somebody out there going, yeah, they should do that. Boom, boom, let's knock them out. But the reality is network marketing is often the first step entrepreneurs take towards entrepreneurship because it's a
true.
very low entry fee and they can
Mhm.
kind of test the waters and see if they want to do it. And kind of like podcasting, 70% of people who say, I want to go into network marketing, never, ever, ever do another thing after they sign on the dotted line. They never invite anybody in, they never make a sale.
Right.
70%. And
Right.
it's not until you get into like the 95th percent that you start seeing where people are. So it's another industry where, the cream rise to the top. I'm
Mhm.
blessed to be one of the people who have been fairly successful in network marketing as well as now podcasting. Now I'm not quite yet to my 100th episode, but already I'm also expanding what I'm doing and so forth. But back to Jeff's book. So
Yeah.
the slight edge is about what do you do consistently? Like no matter what's going on, what do you keep doing? So quick personal story. In August of this year, I fell not once but twice on my boat. First time I broke my rib, second time I broke my foot. Bookending a week-long vacation on the Mississippi River.
Wow.
So I came back kind of in a bit of pain. And for the next couple weeks to month, I really needed a lot of sleep. I didn't have a lot of energy to do a lot of things. But the one thing that I kept doing was my podcast. Why? Because I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And also because I'd made a commitment to my guests to show up. So if there
Yeah.
was 1 hour of the whole week that I was going to show up and do what I needed to do, it was this hour. And I
Right.
realized how much it really meant to me to stand up and have that integrity. Well, that's what the slight edge is about too.
Oh, I love that.
What to do.
Um, you know, you know what it reminds me of?
Yeah.
So about this sense of having consistency. It's almost like even if my business crashed and burned tonight, and I woke up tomorrow and I had nothing, I would still go on social media and talk about the story and talk about like think about things to sell and things to motivate, ways to motivate people. Like I would still do that stuff even if I like woke up tomorrow and it's like I need to get a corporate job again. If I went to do that, I would never give up just getting my business off the ground and getting my audience and talking to people. And it reminds me of Stephen King, the horror
Yeah.
writer. In an interview, they asked him, listen, Stephen, why do you write such horror stories? Like,
Right.
why don't you write like romance novels? Why don't you write like, something a little happier? Like, why do you go for like such dark topics? And his answer, I love. He said, what makes you think that I have a choice?
Ooh.
It's like we all have something inside of us that needs to come out and needs to come out in a certain way, right?
Mhm.
I could be, people ask me, like, why don't I just use my skills to just go and get a fancy corporate job, right? I'd probably make, way, way more secure money every month if I just work for a company. Why don't I just do marketing consulting for bigger firms? Why don't I do all that stuff? And I'm like, that's not where my heart
Yeah.
is. That's not what I want to wake up in the morning and do, right?
Yeah.
What I want to do is run my challenges and I want to run my webinars and I want to crack the code of the audience growth, which is like the biggest problem that I have never solved, which is the audience growth game, right? I crack the code of making six figures with a small audience. That's what I teach. That's what I know how to do. So that's what I teach. But in my time on social media, I am constantly trying to solve that one problem. How do I grow my audience? Because I haven't figured it out yet. And every day feels like a challenge, like a new way to do things. And I just can't imagine another way to do my stuff. Like, do you relate to that
Ah,
yourself, LeAnn? Like, you would wake up tomorrow and what would you do? What would you want to do?
well, it's happened to me. And I will tell you the date. It was May 30th of 2019. I was on my way to my daughter's high school graduation, and a woman walked in the door of the manufacturing company that I owned, that is a 26-year $1 million company. And 6 weeks later, we were closed. Closed. And
Who was
that,
that woman?
what? She was part of a three-letter agency. And they don't make money off of small businesses. And my company was a small business. We only had 3 or 4 employees.
Mm-hmm.
And we weren't bringing in the money for that organization,
Yeah,
and the government doesn't fully fund them. They need fees and license fees and fine fees and things like that. And we were never going to pay them because we weren't big enough to. We didn't,
right.
but we also were a thorn in the side of some of those larger corporations, and it was better for them if we didn't exist, and so we don't.
Yeah.
It was painful.
Wow.
It was heart ripping out of my chest, painful. A short conversation later, and she did gracefully leave and come back the following week, but I fell to the floor, sobbing. And I still had to go to my daughter's graduation and pretend everything was okay.
Yeah.
And so 6 weeks later, we closed the door for the last time, walked out, and the very next day I started my company because there's nothing I wanted to do. I just said, look, this is all I know. This is what I want to do. I've tried to go to work for other people. Doesn't work. Doesn't
Yeah.
work. So
Yeah. I don't feel like that's something that I can do anymore,
no.
working for somebody else. It doesn't feel right. I remember when I was in corporate, and not to be like braggy or anything, but I know my stuff. I'm good at what I do, and
Yeah.
I have a very high work ethic.
Hmm.
So I would see myself working late nights,
Yeah.
always being on my laptop. I don't know why. Once I started to get a little bit more of authority in the company, I started to completely deny any projects that needed to be done by year's end. That's like the worst thing that you can do is say, we're going to do this by the end of the year. Because what that means is that my team and I are going to be working the last 2 weeks of the year, which is Christmas and New Year's. So
Yeah.
I started putting in the rule that if this project cannot be done by Thanksgiving, we are done. We're moving the drop dead date to January or February. I started doing that, but I saw myself working nights, weekends, holidays, December 31st, because some project manager in some office decided that this needed to be done by the end of the year, right? And I'm like, you know what would be awesome? If I could hire myself to create the life that I want, to solve the problem
Hmm.
of really having the job that I want with the flexibility that I want, the money that I want, and be able to be there for my kids, right? I get interrupted every 5 minutes during the day because my kids are calling me, hey, you need to come and pick me up. Hey, you need to come and drop off money so that I can go have lunch with my friends. Hey, I missed the bus. Like, and I'm here for it. And my mom was not. My
Yeah.
mom worked until 7 o'clock at night,
Hmm.
and now I have a wonderful relationship with my mother, but like growing up, she was not our caretaker. She was not the one that was there for us. And it created some stuff for me. So being here for my kids is
Hmm.
huge. Like even when, in the lulls, when my business is not doing as well as some other times, and I talk to my husband, we both agree that it doesn't make any sense for me to like get a job, for me to try to do something else. The fact that I can be home, right?
Yeah.
This is like the most perfect setup in the world, and that I get to do this. This is my job, to get to
Yeah.
come here and talk to you. It's just wonderful. So
It is.
now knowing that, it feels like such a waste to use my skills to better some companies' goals.
Yeah.
See what I mean?
Absolutely. Yep. You can either live your dream or you can help somebody else live theirs.
Right?
Yeah.
So
So
it's like,
quick back to the well, first of all, I totally agree. And even when I had the manufacturing company, I had that flexibility. I mean, if
mm,
I needed to take a day off, if I won a trip, maybe with a network marketing company, and I did, we could just take off. And we had wonderful employees that we could trust to run things while we were gone. They knew how to reach us, but we could set some parameters around how we worked. And that's what we still get to do. Like now my kids are grown. They're out of the
mm,
house. They're successful. But if something happens, I have the flexibility to say, you know what? I'm going to shut down my business today. I'm going to reschedule my things because there's nobody telling me that I can't.
right.
One other
Isn't that
quick thing
awesome?
about the Jeff Olson book, and you'll read this when you read it, but whenever you launch, whether it's starting a business or starting a podcast or whatever it is, another reason to just do it, oops, sorry, Nike, is when the rocket launch took off towards the moon in 1969. I wasn't quite born yet. But when that rocket left, there was a gyroscope inside of the rocket. And that gyroscope was constantly recalculating, and resetting where that rocket was going. That rocket was off track 97% of the time. It was off track. It was going to miss the moon 97% of the time. And that gyroscopes just kept spinning in there and bringing it back on track and then bringing it back on track, bringing it back on track. And that's what we do as well. And this is why you want somebody like you who can coach you through that. Coaches become the gyroscope of the
Right.
now I consider myself a consultant more than a coach. It's a little bit different. I'm more of a do as here's the plan. Go follow it. You're
Right.
more of the let me hold your hand and help you get there. Am I right?
Right? And if you're not ready for the next step, we need to create 5 steps in between because we gotta get you to be ready for that step, right? That's the biggest difference between coaching and consulting for sure.
For sure. But how did you get here? Let's talk about you a little bit more. How did you get into this coaching space?
I didn't even know what coaching was. I didn't want clients when I quit my job. I All I knew when I quit my job is that I'd been making websites for small businesses for 6 years as a side hustle, just
Okay.
to like sharpen up my skills. Literally having that business was akin to learning how to play the piano for me. It was like just I started taking classes for piano, I started taking classes for violin. I started charging for making websites. It was like one of those like I need to discover myself activities, right? I
Yeah.
wasn't thinking online marketing. I had no idea that there was an online marketing world. I just wanted to try something new. And I did that for a while. Then I quit my job, which is a completely different story. And at that point, all I knew was the Online Marketing Made Easy podcast by Amy Porterfield, which I had found like 3 years before. And
Okay.
it opened my eyes to like, there's people making money online other
Yeah.
than selling things on eBay. Like I had no idea what this was, the service industry. And I tried for an entire year, 2015. I spent the entire year trying to get a freebie out the door, but I had no idea what I needed a freebie for, or what I would do with email addresses once they came. I had no clue. I was just trying to just do it. Then when I
Hmm.
quit my job, I'm like, you know what I want to do? I want to create an online course and I wanted to sell like hotcakes because I'm awesome and the course is awesome and I'm going to be rich overnight and then I can live my life like it's a paid vacation,
Right.
right?
Perfect. It worked out, right?
That sounds
Right
like a
away. It
plan.
happened in like 3 weeks.
It happened in like overnight and then, and then we're here.
We're
Um,
joking. Anybody listening? We're joking.
we are kidding. That is not what happened, but that's what I thought it was. So, while I was on maternity leave, kind of like deciding to quit my job still, I saw an ad on Facebook. Like I remember where I was. I was like in bed and I was just scrolling through Facebook. And I saw an ad of this girl. I remember the picture. I could show you the picture because I think she still uses this picture in her marketing because it was so good. This girl with a mug in her hand, just kind of like smiling, like in the
Yes.
picture. And it said, get access to my entrepreneurial vault of resources for amazing online entrepreneurs. And I'm like, I'm an online entrepreneur and it was free. So maybe it's free. I'm gonna check it out. This was like the first thing I ever really signed up for ever online. And I signed up and I got the link for the resources. To this day I have never opened that link. I have no idea what I downloaded. But the thank you page. I'm gonna tell this. This is funnels 101 that I'm
Right.
teaching right now.
Yeah.
So I download the thing and it gets me to a thank you page, which has a video, which again I didn't watch, but it said, learn to create killer content for your blog, and it was only like $17. And I'm like, that my little business had been making money and I had been saving, I've been hoarding all the money because I didn't know about tax rules and everything. So I was just hoarding it and then just keeping it in my bank account and just paying taxes on it. Like I wasn't actually like using my business money. So I'm like, my business can afford to pay $17 for this. So I paid the $17. And that was all still me in bed scrolling through Facebook. And as soon as I paid those $17, in my mind just blew. I was like, this woman with the mug and the smile just got me from having no idea who she was to
To-
buying something from her in a matter of 5 minutes.
Yep.
That was really my first, like, what what just happened? And can I have some of that, please? So
Yeah.
I sent her an email. And I'm like, I don't know how you did that, but I just wanted to tell you, like, it's amazing. How did you do that? And I have no idea about coaching. I don't know what a coach is. And she tells me, actually, this is what I help people do. Would you like to get on a call and I can explain? I'm like, of course. course, that is so nice that she wants to explain it to me on a call. That is
Oh.
so nice of her. I have no idea that I'm walking into a sales call. No clue. No clue. I don't know anything. I'm like, gee, she is so nice to want
Mhm.
to walk me through this. So we get on the call. She asked me a whole bunch of questions about myself. I told her I'm planning on quitting my job, blah, blah. Long story short, she becomes my first business coach. And I work with her, and she didn't just like tell me, okay, this is how you create a freebie, and this is how you create an upsell, and this is what you're going to do with a mailing list. She didn't do any of that. Because she's a coach, she's not a consultant, right?
Mhm.
She's not here to give me the plan and go follow it and bye bye. She's like, okay, I didn't know anything. So she actually had to work on my mindset, because I had like my money mindset was just in the basement, right? Like not a thing. So she helped me through my mindset blocks. She helped me through like, okay, let's just plan a webinar, right? Just
Yeah.
like, let's do that. She got me to do market research, which I had never done before. She's like, can you get on like 5 Zoom calls to talk to people about what they want? I got on 12 that week. I was like on it. I'm like, okay, what's next? Okay, what's next? Okay. And she's like, slow down mindset. You got to really get your mindset right. So through working with her, I started to really, really learn what this online marketing process was like. So while at first I was like, no, I just want to sell a course and just live the high life,
Yeah.
um, she really taught me what the online marketing world was really like.
Mhm.
And then, like 6 months later, it was like, maybe it's time to get you clients rather than trying to sell things to strangers who have no idea who you are. Like, why don't you start by getting clients? And I did. And I got clients. And in the meantime, I'm still thinking, but I need to grow my audience. I need to grow my audience because like that's where the money is. I need to grow my audience. So I kept signing up for more coaches and more
Yeah.
courses and more programs. And the money that I had accumulated in my business just started to dwindle and go down. And because I'm not, I'm not really making it up at the speed that I'm spending it. 2 years after I had started, I was $40,000 in debt. And I'm here thinking, I just spent $40,000 and my audience is still small. And I'm here
Mhm.
kicking myself like, how did that happen? And then this is the part that got me really mad. When I went back to look at my finances, because of course I was not tracking them. I was not tracking my ins and outs. I suggest that anybody listening to this should be aware of what their income and their expenses are, right? Everybody should be aware. I wasn't. It wasn't a thing for me. So I went back to look at my finances, and I found out that over the past 2 years, I had already made $100,000 in revenue
And spent it.
and spent it and then some,
Right.
all trying to chase growing my audience.
Mm.
And that's what bothered me the most, that I had figured out somehow how to get clients and how to make money. And in my mind, I was still not a success because my audience still hadn't cracked 1,000 followers yet. And that's when I got angry. And I sent an email to all my followers, and I'm like, this is BS. If you are still thinking that trying to grow your audience is going to help you, look at what I was able to do with a small audience. If I had just been aware of that the goal is to help people and make money with it rather than growing your audience, I would be in a completely different place. And once I had that realization, I was 30% profitable the whole following year. And I
Yeah.
started to pay down my debt. So I got here talking about small audiences and about, helping people like make money with them and elevating their authority and looking like an expert and acting like an expert, regardless of the size of their audience, because I've been through it. And I got so mad. And there's so many people out there getting in debt and still thinking that they're a failure because their audience is small. And I'm like, dude, you gotta start serving, looking like the expert that you are, right? I say now, like, look like a pro, get paid like a pro, right? It's not enough to just put a few posts out there and then give up. It's like you really gotta act the part of the expert, and that goes with also looking like the expert online. No more amateur stuff.
And just to be clear, it's what you do consistently, because if you consistently show up and you consistently do the things and you consistently do the shows and you consistently post the posts, you're going to go one direction. But
Right.
if you start to consistently not, consistently quit, consistently go on vacation because I'm my own boss,
Yeah, yeah.
guess what? You won't be your own boss. You will not
Right.
have a business and you will be out of business. So consistency goes both directions. That slight
Absolutely.
edge goes up or down, and it can
Absolutely.
change on a dime for sure. I have a couple more
Absolutely.
questions for you. This is so
Yeah.
much fun and I love hearing your story. So, but you went into corporate first.
Hmm.
So, I don't know the background. Did you go to a college? Did you have a college degree first? What was that in?
Yeah, I got my degree in computer science.
Oh, so did I.
No, seriously?
Yes. So I was doing HTML websites in 1999. I don't know
Me
when you.
too.
Yep. So Dreamweaver, let's go. And
Dreamweaver. I was a front page girl.
okay. Yep, I was a
Yeah.
Dreamweaver girl. Probably still have it on some computer stashed in the corner over there.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
My
In fact, I learned Dreamweaver and HTML with a newborn in my arms. We had to
wow.
fly to California to learn. But I sold a computer program when I was 11 in
Mm.
1980. Um, yeah. So computers was my thing. But so
Yeah.
you had a major. I got a minor in it. I downgraded from major to minor, ended up with a math teaching degree. And
Yeah.
that
I
was
ended
my
up with a math minor.
oh, there we go. Flip flop.
So So yeah, yeah, that is fascinating.
Yeah, totally.
I got my first taste of HTML because my cousin, who was 1 year older than me,
Uh-huh.
he was way more techy. I would just played on
Yeah.
computers. I
Sure.
mean, I took computer classes in fifth grade, right? But like, nothing big. My mother had a computer engineering degree. She was the first woman to graduate with a computer engineering degree from her college in 1977.
Nice.
Yeah, before that, there was no computer major and women, it's just not
No,
a
not
thing.
much. Nope.
So my mother was the one who approached me senior year of high school because I'm from Venezuela
Okay.
and I had no plan on studying computers, but my mother was like, but you're so good with them. Like, why don't you just take a class and see how it goes? So I took Pascal senior year of high school
Yep.
and right? And it was great. I was like, are you telling me that people are basically going to pay me a lot of money to play a game? Because like that's what programming felt like to me,
Totally.
you
Absolutely.
know?
For us, it does. It is.
Right?
It's
It's
fun.
just a game. So
Yeah.
yeah, so my cousin was 1 year older than me. So in 1990, I want to say like 1996,
Yeah.
he introduced me to HTML just like on a piece of paper. He
Yeah.
explained the rules of tags to me. And I'm like, okay, well, I can wrap my head around that. And then one
Yeah.
day, like, after like we finally got a browser in like 1997 or whatever, 1996, I went and I created my first little HTML just on a text document and opened it up in a browser. I'm like,
It
okay,
works.
that's kind of cool. My
Yeah.
text is red and big now.
Yeah.
So great. So yeah, so computer science for college. That's where I met my husband at UMass Amherst over here in Massachusetts.
Oh,
And
very fun.
then yeah,
I have
I
been there, by the way.
you've been there?
I've been there because my best friend since we were 10 did 1 year exchange at Amherst. And I got an
No.
opportunity to go out and hang out with her. It isn't, there's like a quad, right? Is it the quad?
Yeah.
Yes. So
Isn't it beautiful?
oh, it's a
Like
it's beautiful, beautiful campus, truly.
so beautiful. That was like it was my safety school and my first choice.
Oh, good.
I really wanted to go to UMass.
Oh, good.
So sorry? I
Yeah,
didn't hear.
wonderful.
Yeah. So yeah, so after that I really wanted to get a job as a developer, but
Yeah.
nobody was hiring. This was 2003, so a couple years after 9/11. So
And the
opportunities for
.com.
international students started to really dry up. Like it was really hard for international students to find visas at that point because like they basically every company shut their international programs down.
Oh,
So I ended up getting a job at a multinational company as like in one of their like leadership programs, like one of those like rotational like training programs, like 2-year programs. So I got into one of those, and I was so disappointed
oh,
that this wasn't what I wanted to do with my life. I really wanted to be a developer. But I couldn't do anything. I was like, my hands were tied because like they were paying for my visa. And I'm like, well, what am I gonna do? Try to find another job, which is so hard right now to get an H-1B. So just forget about it. Just finish the program, get a job, and then eventually I'll get a green card. And once I get a green card, then I'll be able to quit. And then I got a green card but through my marriage, right? So I got married before my time expired on the visa. So
yeah.
I got my green card. But by the time that I got my green card and I got married, the company was paying for my MBA. So now I couldn't leave because I needed to finish my MBA, which they were paying for. So a couple of years later, I finally graduated from my MBA in August, and I
Mhm.
had quit my job by October. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm doing something else. So then I just tried other things. I just went worked at Mass General Hospital in their information systems um, uh department, and I was just like writing databases all day, which was
Yeah.
sort of like playing Sudoku. Like I didn't feel extremely challenged. I was just like creating little access databases to like for the managers. Like that's all I was
Mhm.
doing. It was nice and it was great being on the floors. And I was managing one of the applications that they were using on the floors to keep track of patients. And then after that, my boss got promoted, rightly so. And then I got a really crappy boss. And I
Mm.
thought that boss did not appreciate what I was bringing. So I told my boss, like, I'm going to find another job, just so you know. FYI, I gave her like advance notice. I'm like, I am not lasting here. 6 months later, I went into consulting, and then I started to get more into websites, and then I started my business, and like anyway, so like it's 15 years of
Yeah.
corporate machine, right?
Mm.
Until finally you just kind of are on your last nerve, and then you're
Yeah.
like, I think it's time to hire myself. Like it's
And
time.
so, what I want to feature to anybody listening to this, whether you can see us, and by the way, you should come over and check out the video show as well. You can see us on winwinwomen.tv. You can also find this on YouTube. So, right now, and we'll have other places as well in the future. But she's lovely. You should come over and see. It's fun to see us animated. But if you are
Right?
just listening, and even watching the show, we want you to hear. I think there's a message that's coming out here. You just do the next thing, the
Mm-hmm.
next thing in front of you, the next thing in front of you. Sometimes you have to follow up on a commitment, the 2-year program, the getting your master's degree, things like that. Sometimes you have to follow through, but where you think you're going to go and where you're going to go are often not the same thing. Now, the rocket hit the moon eventually, thankfully, right? But that's not always the case, and it's just really not how our life trajectories are supposed to do. But I have another question for you.
Yeah.
So Ina, Ina, by the way, I should spell your name again for any listeners.
Thank you.
And last name Coveney.
That's
We'll
me.
get to like where people can contact you and stuff in just a minute, but I want to go back a little further into your history. So
Go.
before high school, before college, before all the, has come between then and now, let's go back to junior high school, maybe even just a little before junior high school. Maybe you're not quite a babysitter age yet. Before that, you don't maybe need a babysitter, but you can get out and you can do things. You're a little independent. What were you doing then? What was your fun? What was your pastime?
Theater.
Okay
That
then.
was my thing.
Ah,
Um, my I was one of the leads in a play called The Eunuch.
okay.
Um, and I did such a fabulous job. Everybody loved it. But then after that, we moved to the US, and I was just learning English, I guess. Like I had never really spoken English like fluently.
Yeah.
So this was my first time really being immersed. Second time, I had gone to camp for 3 weeks in Maine, right? So that was really my first time actually like speaking fluently for those 3 weeks. And then coming to the US, my accent, my ability to remember lines, all of that was just not up to snuff. So I was not getting any roles in the plays. So I started singing.
Okay.
And so I joined like the choir and the ensemble in the High School Musical and things like that. But back then, like before high school, like back in the day, really like performing was a really big thing for me. And I'm gonna say that basically took away any public speaking fright. What do you call it? Speaking
Yeah.
fright?
Fear.
Stage fright. Stage fright.
Stage fright, fear of speaking, any of those things, correct?
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
takes it away. Like I one thing that I really hope for my clients and I try to impart in them is that if I were to just open a door right now next to you and you walk through it and there's 500 people there waiting to hear your message right now, no preparation, no slides, you have it in you to just step out there and speak to them from the heart with whatever it is that you want to say. Now, I do give my clients a little bit of a structure, right? This is how you start. This is how you keep them engaged. This is how you're going to end it, right? This is how it goes. But you should be able to do that. Not should. You have it in you to do that. So, and I feel like that comes just from the performing background. Like I could step on a stage at any moment, give me a microphone, and I'm going to be able to make something wonderful with it. And I don't know that I would have had that kind of confidence if it wasn't because little 12-year-old Ina was auditioning for plays out there. So I think
So what
that's,
I heard is that, little 12-year-old Eno is auditioning for plays and singing, performing, and you still are.
and I still am,
Because
right?
often, for me, and I just have chills thinking about it, but that's really the sign. And so anybody listening again, think of yourself at those ages. What were you doing? What made you happy at that point in your life before the world got to you? Before you got caught up in, I got to finish the masters, I have to finish the whatever. What brought you joy when you were at that age, 9, 10, 11 years old? What brought you joy? Because that's probably what's going to bring you joy today.
LeAnn.
And I was a performer too, by the way.
Yeah. You just blew my mind. And that is a really useful question for everybody to ask themselves. And I have to venture to say that would have been a very dangerous question for you to ask me and then me say something completely different
Yeah.
and me say like and me realize right here that I'm not fulfilling my life's purpose because I was doing something, I was horseback riding or whatever it is. But it works so it is so perfectly because I've done the work, right?
Yeah.
I have done the work. I have done the self-analysis. I have done the mindset work. I know what I'm supposed to be doing, how it's supposed to feel every day to wake up and do something that you really, really want to do. So I can we just write that on a t-shirt somewhere? People need to be asking themselves this question. And if it's not matching up, it's time to go back to joy. And you're the CEO of joy. Everything is just like it's getting pieced together right in front of me. This is amazing.
Well, and I will tell you, think about who I typically talk to. It's people like you who have achieved a level of success. I know in your Superhumans podcast, by the way, go check it out if you're listening. In Superhumans, you're talking about, people maybe that lots of people have heard about. And sometimes the people that I'm interviewing, not lots of people have heard about yet, or they're well known in a particular smaller circle, and that's just
Mhm,
fine.
mhm.
It's that reaching that level of success that we call success that matters.
Yeah,
It's not
right.
about societal success. It's not about millions of dollars. It's not about TV endorsements. I mean, what percentage of football playing 5-year-olds end up on a NFL field? It's like a percentage of
Right.
a percentage of a percentage. It's really small, but many people can consider themselves a success, and those are the people that I interview. Because if
Yeah,
you consider yourself a success, again, you probably are fulfilling that dream, that desire that you had as a child as well. Now,
yeah.
most everybody that I've talked to, I get a match.
Right.
I also, I will say that I personally, I call on God. I'm like, if I'm not quite seeing it, I'm like, tie this one together. But the minute you started talking, I was like, oh, we got this one.
That was seriously like an incredible like jumping.
It's fun.
We got to a really good place. It just blew my mind. That
Uh,
is true. That's why that maybe that's why I love what I do because it feels like play,
it
you
feels like
know?
play. And
Oh,
granted, both of us felt like computer programming was play too. And I don't mind, but I eventually left computer programming also because I realized when I woke up in the middle of the night, dreaming of code really wasn't what I wanted to do. I changed my music that I listened to about 5 years ago too, because I realized when I woke up in the middle of the night, there were certain words that I wanted to have running through my mind, my spirit, my soul,
yeah.
and what was being played on common radio wasn't it.
Yeah.
Because what you repeat and what you say to yourself all the time, that what you let in is what's going to come out.
Absolutely.
Have you heard this
Absolutely.
one, Ina? If you're carrying a cup of coffee and somebody jostles into you, what's going to spill?
Coffee?
Yeah, the coffee, because that's what's in your cup. When you
There you
get put
go.
under stress, what falls out is what's in your cup.
Yeah.
And so, be mindful of what are you putting in because that's what's going to squeeze out when you're under any kind of pressure.
Yeah. And I think that, in our journey, like everything is a building block to whatever comes next, right?
Absolutely.
To this day, like I help my clients with their tech. I am able to put together an entire funnel in a single day. I like the tech experience has really helped me to just become like really quick with things. Would I have been able to predict that this is how I was going to be using my tech prowess for? Like, no way. But I
Right.
love that the picking up the breadcrumbs, right? And never thinking that whatever just happened, whatever you're leaving behind, is a
Yeah.
waste of time. It's a
Yeah.
waste of talent. Everything is building up to wherever you're meant to go. And I feel like that's something everybody, if you're listening to this and that's what it feels like, sometimes that's what leaving an old job that you've been at for 20 years feels like. That maybe that was just a waste of my time. Leaving a toxic relationship. Wow, I just wasted the last 10 years of my life. It feels very tempting to say that when in reality, all of that was building up to where you're meant to be. You would have not ended up where you're going to go without those things behind you. So I'm so glad that we got to that.
Yeah. And June 6, 2023, I was showing people how to build websites and using a very simple system. And somebody said, "LeAnn, would you just do this for me? You're so good at it. You're so comfortable." And I was like, well, that's not really what I do. And it was like a voice inside my head. It sounded a lot like me that said, now you do.
Now you do.
And I was like, oh, well, and the next day I looked and I said, wow, I have 400 websites that I've been building. I can share these. I can help people to take control of their own businesses, be able to afford this, because my big thing is helping people bootstrap their business,
Mm-hmm.
helping them get going from the ground up with tech that's not overwhelming and,
Mm-hmm.
and getting in things in place. So it's also fun. Here, I want
Yeah.
to be, I can't believe our time has just flown by. So I want to
Ah,
make sure, where can people find out more about you? What's your best website? What's your best social medias? Tell us that.
you can find me at on Instagram every single day. My name is Ina Coveney. I'm sure you can see it spelled right in the show notes. I know it's not super easy, but if it's a lot easier to say, just go to realsuperhumans.com. That's the link to the website. And right there, as soon as you go to that website, realsuperhumans.com, you're going to see the Apple link, the Spotify link, the YouTube link, so you can find me over there. And if it's okay for me to share,
Yeah.
next week, if you're listening to this, the week of November 11th,
Yes.
next week, the week of November 18th, we are running an Instagram 5-day challenge to do like to level up your authority, right? So that when people land on your profile, they're not going to care how many followers you have. They're going to want to sign up to work with you. They're going to know exactly what it is that you do. So that challenge is called the Small Audience Social Authority Challenge. I call it lovingly SASA Challenge, SASA. So if you go to sasachallenge.com, Go and sign up. It's completely free. It has all of my worksheets and bonus videos, all completely free to get you to level up that social media. So go and get that.
I'm guessing, just throwing it out there, that if somebody happens to hear this podcast months from now, years from now, hmm, possibly you do this more than once.
I do, because it's
Maybe.
my favorite
Yes.
challenge to run.
There you
If
go.
you go to sasachallenge.com, I'm sure like 10 years from now, I will still own the domain, and it's just going to take you to whatever it is I'm promoting at the time that will be more relevant to you in 10 years. So just go to sasachallenge.com and you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So that's what I love, is that again, we're able to rinse and repeat. And I have a summit coming up as well in January called the Restart Your Business Challenge. By the way, we just want to share real quick that scrolling in bed one Monday morning, 6 a.m., not long ago, less than a month ago, and I'm launching an app because there it was.
Amazing.
I'm like, you know what? Boom. This is the last piece I needed. So I have an app coming out on Apple
Amazing.
and Google Play, and it's going to be wonderful. So, pay attention to, sometimes that scroll is it. Maybe that is where, I mean, you've heard both of us now have had a scrolling story. Both of us have had a, sticking things out story. And, and both of us now are running challenges or summits or whatever it is ongoing. I do my summit 3 times a year. You have your salsa challenge,
Yeah.
I'm sure over and over again. So it's possible to build the business and the life of your dreams. That's what I want to say. Last word from you.
Last word.
Yes.
Does it have to be one word?
No.
Okay, can be a phrase.
Phrase, thought.
If
Last
you
thoughts, last final sentences.
Final sentence. If you have a business and you have been so focused on growing your audience that you forgot how to get clients, prioritize getting clients. You can do it. People without audiences do it all the time. And if you need help, just come on over. LeAnn is a business consultant. She can show you the way. I'm a business coach. I can hold your hand through the way. Pick your best way to learn. Just come and ask for help. That's all I'm saying.
Yes. Find your joy, find your person. And if that person is Ina, I couldn't be happier that you've heard about it here on Lead with LeAnn. So thank you, Ina. And I'm going to say, on behalf of both of us and to our audience, thank you for joining us on this journey to unleash your joyful business potential. Remember, leadership is a voyage we take together. So, keep shining and aligning with your purpose, and come back next week and every week at 2 p.m. Pacific time exclusively on winwinwomen.tv. But also look forward to soon the additional episodes that I will be dropping on YouTube and other locations. By all means, you can come and sign up for notifications as we get closer to that, and join us for our next inspiring episode. So until next time, this is LeAnn Lyon and Ina. I'm your Chief Joy Officer signing off. Keep leading with heart, and I will catch you on the next wave of success. Thank you for joining us today.